And you're thinking, give me that money, I'll show you how to spend it.
Yeah.
Most of the small businesses in Rwanda are actually owned by women. Because of that fact that we knew that, women are excluded out of the financial sector, we took a step back and drawing lessons that we've learned from Kenya through the Flame product to say, what is it that we need to do to better serve our women-owned businesses? I believe in hard work opening up doors for you, not because you're a woman, but because number one, you have the competency. Number two, you have the attitude for it, and you're able to challenge the status quo. But because of the way I was raised, I don't think I ever questioned my ability to do something.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of banks, when they create a product for women, they slap the color pink on it, and that's just about it. Okay, sometimes our identity is a map. And let me tell you why. Because I believe it tells a story of where we've been, the languages we've learned, the borders we've crossed, the values we've carried, and sometimes, if we are lucky, it shows us where we're meant to lead. Now, my next guest is a true East African. She was born in Kenya, raised in Uganda, and right now, she's rooted in Rwanda. From private finance to development and then back to banking, which we are going to talk about, her path has been bold, deliberate, and always people first. Today, she leads BPR Bank Rwanda, a subsidiary of KCB Group, East Africa's largest commercial bank with a mandate to make banking more inclusive, more sustainable, and more human. Has she been able to do it? We're going to find out. Now, this season of Her Way, we are talking to women running finance in Africa, the women making systems bend towards dignity, equity, and even access. This is Her Way. I am Terry Moikamba, and today it's Patience Tan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Terry.
I am so glad that we caught you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Very short notice, but I'm really glad to be here.
So let me tell you, when you were coming up with the list of the guests we're going to have, everybody told me, you must speak to Patience. You must speak to Patience.
Wow.
And I was told you're in Rwanda, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know how it's going to happen because I don't think I'm going to travel to Rwanda. Yeah. But you're here, and we're so glad that you made it.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing why.
I will.
Really interested. But thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's really a pleasure.
So let's start from the beginning. You have worked across East Africa. In fact, you've said that you're the true East African, born in Kenya, raised in Uganda, and then you settled in Rwanda. Yeah. I'm curious to know what spirit you carry from every country.
Yeah.
We can start with Kenya.
Very interesting. So like you rightly said, I was born in Kenya. I'm fully Rwandan. So my parents lived as refugees in Kenya. They lived in refugee camps in Uganda, and then later in life moved to Kenya because the situation in Uganda wasn't very friendly to Rwandan refugees at the time. And so my dad was a teacher in Kenya. Mom followed him. They started a family here. But we didn't live here too long. I left in my formative years, just at 9 years old. I think that the Kenyan spirit that I carry is that open-mindedness and curiosity and the ability to ask questions and adventure. I see Kenyans and I think these are really adventurous people. And I think that's a spirit that I've carried in me throughout my life. And the fact that I like to say I'm Kenyan by birth. I don't have any Kenyan identification, but I see myself as Kenyan at birth.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Uganda, had most of my education in Uganda. So that was the country of my youth. That's where I made most friends. So I also like to say I have a Ugandan heart. I still keep most of my childhood friends there, the neighborhoods in which I grew, also in different towns in Uganda, so wasn't really settled in one town. I carry an open-mindedness that I think I got from Uganda, and also a bit of the adventure as well.
Yeah.
And then after university, I moved back to Rwanda because having been raised by Rwandan parents, and my story, by the way, is not unique. There's lots of Rwandans who have similar stories, having lived, born and raised in countries outside of Rwanda. Moved back to Rwanda because being raised by Rwandan families, we were always reminded that Rwanda is home. Rwanda is the land of milk and honey. And so we had these fantasies about Rwanda, and I couldn't wait to just go back home and contribute to the development of the country. So I moved back in 2004 after university, and my entire career journey has been in Rwanda.
So I'm hearing the Kenyan adventure, Ugandan heart, and home, Rwanda.
Absolutely.
I love that. And what do you think it means to be a true East African?
I think what it means to be a true East African is I'm never limited by borders. I believe that as East African, we're one. There's so much more that unifies us than what separates us. And so when I'm in Kenya, I say I'm home. When I'm in Uganda, I say I'm home. When I'm in Rwanda, I'm home. Same thing with Tanzania and the rest of East Africa. So it's just that unity of purpose and the fact that there is a lot more that brings us together than what separates us.
Yeah. I like to say that sometimes our identity is a map, like of all the places that we have been, the way we speak, the accents, the language. It's a map, and then it forms somehow our identity.
Absolutely. And then it makes life easier. It makes life easy depending on where you find yourself. Because I've never struggled to identify myself with, Kenyan colleagues, for example. There's always something to talk about. A nice conversation starter that I usually have with Kenyans who are meeting for the first time. I'm like, do you know I was born in Murang'a? And they're like,
really?
What? Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my dad was a teacher in Thika High School.
Yeah.
Right? And so we lived right there. That's where I was born.
Yeah.
And so I say that and everyone has the same reaction. You have like, really?
What?
And then they start, can you speak
Kikuyu?
No, I
Nothing?
cannot.
No?
But it's a very nice conversation starter.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I enjoy that reaction.
Like, what? Murang'a? Because Murang'a is very, like, that's Kenyan. You're very Kenyan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're going to talk about your dad a bit later on. But let's talk about your journey. So you finish high school and you decide to go to university. What did you study and how did you see that? Like, what was the dream? Yeah.
So I finished high school and went to university in Makerere University in Kampala. I studied quantitative economics. So I finished with a Bachelor of Sciences in quantitative economics.
Yeah.
I've always been a numbers person. I've always had an analytical mind. My mind will naturally gravitate towards numbers. Although in there, I think I had initially wanted to be an architect because it was numbers, but with a bit of art in it. But I ended up doing quantitative economics. When I finished, I went straight into, banking. My master's was also in finance, an MBA in finance. So I've always been drawn towards numbers.
Yeah. Okay, so you start in banking, and then you go to trade development, and then back to banking. So I'm thinking trade development was very impact, and then back to banking. How was that transition for you?
It was a very interesting transition, and maybe I can just backtrack a little bit. Immediately I got out of school, I've always had a heart for impact. So I did a bit of an internship in the hospitality industry, realized that wasn't a space for me, and then I went into microfinance. Microfinance was so interesting because I was getting into Rwanda for the first time in my life. Could hardly speak Kinyarwanda, did not know the country. And with the microfinance, we were forced to, find small businesses in very remote areas because at the time we were giving loans of up to 1 million francs, and that's less than $1,000. So really small size loans to micro businesses. I did that for 1 year, but I like to say that was part of my most impactful work in Rwanda, because I got the opportunity to really understand the kind of challenges that micro businesses have. And it really opened my eyes. And because my mom had also done a bit of small businesses in the different towns where we settled, I identified with the kind of challenges they were facing. But as you can imagine, your career grows, and, out of the microfinance, I went into banking. Started off doing banking in marketing and product development. I enjoyed it, but I really missed engaging with people. I missed working with businesses. So after 2 or 3 years in marketing and product development, I then went back into relationship management. I did a bit of SME banking. I did a bit of corporate banking as well. With the now INM Bank, it used to be BCR. Very impactful work, but also on a personal level is where I really developed lifelong relationships. So I look back to those 5.5 years with a lot of pride and satisfaction in the fact that it wasn't just about the career, but the fact that I also developed lifelong relationships.
Right.
I then left BCR, and then I went to EcoBank as the head of corporate banking. The first 3 years was as head of corporate banking for just Rwanda, but then the next 2.5 years, I was also covering corporate banking for the region, back to my, East African roots, because I was then covering Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi, 5 countries within my mandate. Did that for 5.5 years in total. So I had about 12 years experience in the financial sector, including the microfinance. And I got to a point where I thought, you know what? At the time I was turning 35, and I just felt like it was such a huge turning point in my life. I started reflecting on everything I knew and wondered whether that's what I wanted in my life. Because as you can imagine, in the banking sector, there's a lot of focus on numbers.
Yes.
Right? So you're chasing numbers. And because I have a heart for impact, at that point I was really questioning, the direction that I was taking.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was going to take a pause from banking and do something completely different. And as, God would have it, the opportunity with Trademark East Africa at the time came up. That was 2016. I moved on to trade development, like you said, facilitating trade, working not just with private sector, but working with the government, working with on policy matters, developing infrastructure that would facilitate trade, but also working with the micro, businesses, the small scale cross-border traders, which again spoke to my passions. So I did that for 6.5 years in Trademark East Africa. You asked me about what the transition was. It was a very interesting transition, because I remember being in banking and I used not to understand how NGOs were struggling to spend money, right? Because in the financial sector, you're struggling to make numbers.
Money. Yes.
And you're thinking, give me that money, I'll show you how to spend it.
Yes.
So this transition was getting to understand how it was very difficult to actually find impactful projects to finance and spend the money that the donors were giving us. So I think that's one area that I found very difficult to transition in. And the other area which was quite difficult, and to this point I sympathize or I have empathy for people in the development world, was it was very difficult to measure the impact of the work that you were doing. Right. So you spend a lot of time spending money, but taking that step back and actually measuring the impact of the work you are doing. There's a risk that they carry where you assume that you're impacting, you have a particular impact from the work you're doing, and yet there's a disconnection between the work you're doing and the impact that you intend to achieve. So it was a very eye-opening part of my career, but also a steep learning curve in terms of fully understanding the kind of challenges that businesses face in this region. So in the financial sector, you tend to focus on access to finance. And there is a temptation to think that the issues that businesses face is mostly financing. The businesses actually face challenges that are way deeper than
just money.
And until you resolve those issues,
Yes.
it's policy issues, it's market access issues, it is skills issues. The issues are just so deep that when you rush to give money to a business that hasn't sorted out those systemic issues, the risk of failure is very high.
Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes to the kind of challenges that businesses face, that even when I transitioned back into banking, I'm not in a rush to give a business money. I want to truly understand, okay, what are the other issues that you deal with?
Right.
Where do you source your raw materials from? What is the logistics? What does the logistics look like? What is your entire supply chain? How do you access your markets? Who are the people that are consuming your product? So that then you're also thinking about the sustainability of the business.
Yeah.
So those 6.5 years were eye-opening. I like to believe that they've helped me to look at banking completely differently and make me a much better person than I was.
Yeah. I mean, I like that you said that, because if you think about it, it's really de-risking the business, the bank, because you empower the business. It becomes sustainable. What I'm hearing is sort of doing the DNA. Before I give you money, I'm getting the DNA of your business, technical assistance. Do you have proper books? How do you, So how does that work? Is everybody on board? Because I would think that, why should I do that as a bank? Because it also feels like it's a lot of work. Yes, time consuming. Yeah. So is everybody on board? Do you have to convince people that this is the right way to do it?
No, not everybody is on board. We still have a tendency to look at how much time it takes us to close deals, right?
Yeah.
It's about how quickly can I move.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we are profit-making institutions. Our shareholders expect a return. So I'm not saying we need to slow down.
Yeah.
I think we need to keep up the pace and close transactions as quick as possible. As KCB Group, we like to say focus on execution. So when you start something, close it as quickly as possible. But just open up your mind to think about beyond this money. How do I ensure sustainability of the businesses that I'm supporting?
Yeah. Okay. You talked about, moving from impact into banking. And one of the things that you've also spoken so passionately about is about women empowerment. And from where I see it, women empowerment has, for a very long time, been seen as a thing that NGOs do. But now we're seeing a lot of banks backing women in very many different ways. And I want to talk about a program that you have at VRP. I hope I pronounce it right. Ikamba.
Ikamba.
Yes, the crown.
Yes.
Please tell me about Ikamba.
Great. So Ikamba was actually something that we developed, but as a group, as a KCB group, we have something similar in Kenya. So if you know Flame. Ikamba is really a replication of Flame, but with customization of the challenges that Rwandan businesses face. So as you can imagine, women are usually left out of the financial sector, and we have 52% of our population is women. Most of the small businesses in Rwanda are actually owned by women. In my previous work, I think it was about in the early 20s, early 2000s, we did a study where we looked at 5,000 businesses, women-owned businesses, to get a sense of what are the challenges that they face. And what we found was that out of the 5,000, 63% of those were small businesses, right? Women-owned businesses, meaning they were employing less than 3 or less employees, right? So really small scale. Now, those are businesses that are traditionally left out of the financial sector.
Yeah.
But to just put a caveat, in the 2024 financial inclusion study that was done in Rwanda, the difference between the genders on financial inclusion was only at 2%, right? So women, financial inclusion for women was at about 96%, and financial inclusion for men was 98%. That is statistics for Rwanda.
Yes.
But financial inclusion then includes mobile money, right? So it's not just the banking sector, it's banking, microfinance, and, the other mobile money operators as well. So because of that fact that we knew that, women are excluded out of the financial sector, we took a step back and drawing lessons that we've learned from Kenya through the Flame product to say, what is it that we need to do to better serve our women-owned businesses? Yeah. And that's where we developed the idea of Ikamba. Now, what is Ikamba? Ikamba looks at, the main challenges. We don't, I wouldn't say we cover all of them. We address all of them, but it's mostly the main ones. And one of them is access to collateral when women are looking for, financing. Yeah. And we know that for a woman, even when they own property, it's probably co-owned with the husband. Yeah. They'll need the husband to sign off. Most men you will find will not be willing to offer their, properties as security for a woman's business. Yeah. So access to collateral is a problem for women. So we developed a system where we credit score the women-owned businesses, and then we provide limits to their accounts so that if you are running a business where you require working capital financing, you can have up to 100 million francs to fund your business without collateral, so unsecured. Number two, we also found that they lack skills on business development. And so part of the program looks at business development training for women-owned businesses, covering all aspects, from bookkeeping, financial records, governance, HR, the like, everything. So we take them through a business development training so that they're better equipped to manage their businesses. Yeah. And then third, because we realize that for women, time is also a problem. Because, you're struggling between, running your business, running your domestic responsibilities. So time tends to be a problem for them. And so we looked at how we could digitize a lot of those financial services to make it easy for a woman to access financial services. Yeah. So with that, we then developed our Ikamba product. It's fairly new. We're still going through the sensitization, training the women-owned businesses, training our own staff so that we can better serve our customers. I believe this is one of the areas that we're going to achieve a lot of impact. It's a product that's really close to my heart. Yeah. So we are monitoring it very closely, also to make sure that it doesn't end up just serving the needs of the few urban business owners, right? Yeah. Because the tendency is we launch something like this, but it's the usual people who will access these services, right? We want it to go to the grassroots. We want it to benefit the women in the villages who are running small businesses so that we can actually achieve the impact that we want to see.
Yeah. I like that you said that because we've seen programs and then we've seen the people benefiting from the said programs and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm probably not going to be golfing. I'm probably not going to be in these spaces where these people are. But I'm keen to know, how do you plan on, reaching the women in the grassroots? Just a bit of it, because I know it's a grand plan. Yeah. But how do you plan on reaching that Mama Mboga in deep the village, but also she has a really good business?
That's a very good question. Yeah. So one of the things that I believe we have as a competitive edge is our reach across the country. So BPR is known to be, the bank with the largest network across the country. So already just leveraging that presence that we have, making sure that we have staff that fully understand the product even before we try to drive it, and making sure then that they go to the grassroots. Number two is also working with the local government, because the local government in Rwanda operates fairly well.
Yeah.
They're able to also facilitate us while we facilitate them, because they know where these businesses are.
Yeah.
Then in addition to that, also just having market storms where we have the salespeople actually going into the markets and talking to these women-owned businesses so that we are close. The other thing with the women that I'm cognizant of, that we're cognizant of, is we're very relational creatures, right? So putting up a billboard to say, oh, come and get a loan, I don't know what, it doesn't speak to us, right? We want to engage with people.
Yes.
So that with that accessibility of the branches that we have, just making sure that we also have staff that are available to act as business support for these women-owned businesses, I think is one of the areas that we'll be able to scale.
Yeah. Again, it sounds like the hard thing to do.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen a lot of banks, when they create a product for women, they slap the color pink on it, and that's just about it. The pink washing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of banks are not going deep to understand the true needs of the women.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if a woman wants to scale, it's about things like bookkeeping. How do you do that? How do you employ people? So having the trainings is, I guess, a step into achieving, what you're talking about, which I love. So now Ikamba means crown. And you've built this, initiative around that idea. I want to know, when did you start to wear your crown fully? And what did it cost you?
Wow.
Yeah.
When did I start to wear my crown fully? Describe wearing a crown.
Embracing who you are fully. Yeah.
Do you know, I haven't struggled with embracing myself fully. And I would credit my upbringing for that. There's not a single time that I questioned my ability, at least growing up. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. I have dealt with imposter syndrome. But because of the way I was raised, I don't think I ever questioned my ability to do something. I was raised to believe that as long as I put my heart to something, I can achieve it. And so I never felt like my crown was falling off my head.
Yeah, it's always been on.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think back about whether there was ever any turning point in my life, but no. I think I've always worn my crown and been very proud to, be a woman that can enter any space and do what I put my heart to. I believe in hard work. I believe in hard work opening up doors for you, not because you're a woman, but because, number one, you have the competency. Number two, you have the attitude for it, and you're able to challenge the status quo. So I've never felt like I'm held back because I'm a woman.
Yeah. You touched on something that I think every woman talks about, just having the imposter syndrome. Why do you think women get this idea that they're not good enough from?
There are multiple reasons.
Right.
And it's very difficult to say why a different person might experience it. I'll probably give my own experience. First of all, I truly believe that preparation is everything, right? So if you're putting in a space where you have to, for example, maybe compete for something with a man, right? And you're thinking, this is probably a man who has had a week uninterrupted to prepare for this one thing.
Yeah.
While on the other hand, I'm having to juggle taking care of home responsibilities, taking care of children, and worrying about so many other things, including parents, including there's just so much that you have on your head.
True.
Right? So you don't have the luxury of investing in preparation. So you're already going into a space thinking, oh my God, did I prepare enough? Did I give this thing as much time as I needed. So already that will make you feel unprepared in a way, right? Number two, in the space in which we operate, you also realize that there's a lot that happens outside the workspace, right? So you be as hardworking as you can. You do everything right by the work, standards. But at the end of the day, there's a lot that's happening, in the bars over a glass of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Spaces where you cannot be.
Yes.
You cannot afford to be.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, that is already will make you question your ability to give the extra 20%, which is outside of, the office setting. So you'll be thinking, okay, maybe there will be some deals that will come and I probably will hear about it as the 10th person after all the other managing directors have heard about it.
Yes.
And so because of that, the bank might miss an opportunity because I'm the one leading this organization. I think it's less about the technical skills that we bring on board, because I don't think any woman, well, let me just correct that. For most women who are experienced, exposed, hardworking, have the competences, you're not questioning your technical abilities. You're questioning more of the extra that might be required of you.
Yeah.
And so you wonder whether you're the right person for that role because of that extra, which you'll not be able to provide. Yeah.
Wow. I like that because, you've spoken into it. The cure to imposter syndrome is preparation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's also what I believe. And I also think not even acknowledging it. Like someone asked, do you have imposter syndrome? No, I don't know what that is. I feel like already people start to view you differently when you say, no, I don't suffer from that.
Yeah.
So people feel, oh, okay, this is a very confident person. And then they, address you as such. Your parents, they gave you two powerful pieces of advice. And you've said that your dad said, whatever you choose to do, be excellent at it. And your mom has said, whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord. How do you think these two statements have impacted the kind of leader you are today?
So the one thing that the two pieces of advice have in common is an underlying factor of excellence.
Yes.
Right? So whatever you do, be the best at it.
Yeah.
For me, it's not really about competing with other people.
Yes.
It's about asking yourself, is this the best that I can do? So I struggle, for example, to leave my desk in the evening because I'm questioning, have I done everything that I was supposed to do today to the best of my ability?
Yeah.
So just having that, foundation of excellence in whatever you do. You'd rather do few things, but do them to the best of your ability. And for my mom, doing things as unto the Lord is to say, I'm not doing it to please anybody. I'm not doing anything for human applause, right? I'm not waiting to be told, oh, you have a 5 in your BSc, right?
Yeah.
It's about my God-given abilities and fully utilizing those abilities to impact people's lives, right? So it's not about me. It's about the people that God has put into my life. And how do I use my skills? How do I use my talents? How do I use the spaces that God has put me into to multiply and to increase impact?
Yeah. What would you say is your leadership style?
So I like to believe I'm an inclusive leader.
Okay.
I am a leader who believes that I don't know everything. I'm a leader who believes that talent lies everywhere. And so I like to engage people. I like to hear people's thoughts. I like to believe that I surround myself with subject matter experts so that if there's anything that I need advice on a particular subject matter, I have people to run to. And I like to include people.
Yeah.
Number 2, I believe I'm also a leader that comes from a place of empathy. So before I rush to make my point,
Yes.
I want to find out how you are, the space that you're in. And so that tends to take up quite a bit of time. But yeah, I believe empathy is at the core of my leadership style.
Yeah.
But I'm also a purpose-driven leader. I want to remind the teams that I lead the reason why we do what we do. And that reason is beyond making money. It's about impact. It's about changing people's lives. And that's what really draws me to KCB because, our tagline is for people for better. Those are the values we live by.
Yeah.
And so impact, we're all about the impact that we will, deliver to the people we serve.
Yeah. You're currently the managing director at BPR, and you've talked about empathy. And a lot of the times when we hear women leaders, or when we're trying to discredit a woman into being a leader, we talk about how, women are so emotional, they can't lead. What does that make you feel when you hear statements like women are too emotional?
I mean, I embrace it. I embrace it. The reason why we get defensive about it is because we think about being emotional in a negative sense.
Yeah.
I think being emotional is actually a beautiful thing because it makes you feel things, and human beings are feelers, right? So I think that as a woman leader, if you embrace your, emotional nature, it helps you to do things differently.
Yeah.
We've been forced in the corporate world to write off or kind of block that emotional nature of us. I have failed to do that. At the end of the day, I carry my emotions wherever I am. Where I've had to deal with really tough conversations, I can still have those tough conversations, and I'll make it clear that it's not that I'm being inhumane, right? But it's because I'm here to serve a particular purpose, and because you are not contributing towards that purpose, we have to take this decision. But it doesn't take away the fact that I'm an emotional human being, and it doesn't change the way I lead.
Yes, I am emotional, and that's okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking about, some of the things that people say to women leaders, some of them really irk me. But I think I want to talk about some of the myths that you hear when you meet a woman leader. So, for example, I've heard people say that, you have to act like a man, to be respected and to be regarded as equal. We've heard things like, nice girls don't get the corner office, which really pissed me off. I feel like a man wrote that. So what are some of the myths that you've had as a woman leader, and you're like, no, we're not going to subscribe to that? Yeah.
So let me tell you something, Terry.
Yeah.
Some of these myths, I think because of the country in which I live, we are shielded from some of these stereotypes, right? Rwanda is a very gender or women-friendly space.
Yes.
We don't feel pressured to be any different.
Yeah.
Our parliament is over 60% women. The cabinet is almost 50% women. The private sector, speaking about the financial sector specifically, we have almost 40% of the banks are led by women. And when I think about the women leaders that I see on a day-to-day basis, I don't see anybody that's trying to be anything else rather than a woman leader and being themselves.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, some of these things that we hear, you don't really identify with because we have been given the space, and honestly, it's all credit to the leadership of our country that you don't have to be who you're not.
Yeah.
You can still lead as a woman and lead well without feeling like, you have to be something else. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those
can't relate.
I can't relate, honestly.
Rwanda sounds like my dream place.
You're welcome.
No, but really, when you look at the neighboring countries, Kenya, Uganda, when you have the gender conversation, what do you think Rwanda is doing differently? Is it political goodwill, or there's something deeper?
I think it's deeper in the sense that when you go back to the unfortunate events that happened during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, a lot of the people who were in leadership positions were either brutally murdered or they fled the country. And so you couldn't have a situation where, leadership is a thing for the men, right? That's one thing. Number two, I think there's also a leadership, the biggest change is because of the leadership mindset to say, if we're going to get anywhere as a country, we can't leave out 52% of the population, right? So we have to have women in leadership positions, and we have to be very deliberate about it because women may not necessarily step up, right, when the opportunities come up. So we have to be deliberate about putting women in leadership positions. So I think it takes a lot of intentionality before you can actually get that critical mass. Because even then, even with that intentionality, believe it or not, there are women who will have that opportunity, but who realize, you know what, if I'm getting into this space, it's going to eat into my private life. It's going to eat into my family time. Or probably you have a man that is not ready for a woman that's going to go up that career ladder. And so I think there's still a lot of work that needs to go into getting that change in mindset.
Oh, wow. I absolutely love that. When I look at the statistics for the KCB group in general, I'm seeing that 70% of the people who work at KCB are young. It's the youth. And there's been a conversation currently happening around, the Gen Zs, this is how they like to work. They'll wake up one day and tell you, yeah, I feel like working from home. I am going to deliver. Has your leadership style had to change in some way? Is there anything that you're learning or unlearning when it comes to leading a very young population? Yeah, workforce rather, yeah.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good question. And I have to think about... So one thing I know about the Gen Z is that, and I've seen it, they are more about purpose. You have fewer Gen Zs, at least compared to millennials and, Gen X.
Yeah.
They are more interested in purpose. Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
How does it make sense for humanity? They're much better people, to be honest, than we are, because they want to see how their contribution makes a difference in the world. So as a leader, I think what that has done for me is just that realization that I need to spend a lot of time talking about how our work changes the world. A lot of the young people in Rwanda, for example, are super passionate about the country, right? So just that ability to say that as BPR Bank, this is how we are contributing towards the development of the country. This is how we're contributing towards improving the livelihoods of Rwandans. And I believe that helps them to see how they fit into the bigger picture. So I think that is the one area that, and because it speaks to me as well, it's been an easy transition.
Yeah.
But I just need to be a lot more intentional in talking about it.
So we started this conversation talking about the air and how you sometimes feel like it's not so clean. And, I'm just thinking right now, you're a mother. And when you look at your children, do you sometimes think, what kind of world am I leaving them in? And has that created an urgency in how you obviously lead and some of the things that you invest in when it comes to sustainability? Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, I will start off with the fact that as a country, I think we're having the right conversations about the environment specifically, right? Today, if you enter Kigali, you'll find that a lot of the works you'll see around you in the surroundings is swamps that are being reclaimed, right? So people have been taken out of swamp areas and they're being green. So we have eco parks across the city. And as a bank, we've actually taken the time to think about what is our contribution to this. So we have a tree planting initiative. It's been going on, I think, since 2017 or thereabout, where we've committed to planting at least 1,000 trees per year. So that's something that we're doing on the environmental side. In terms of the world that I'm living for my children, if I choose to be very Rwanda focused, I think, I get the sense that, in fact, not just the sense, I am pretty confident that the decisions that are being made today are not short-term in nature. There's a long-term view in the decisions that we make as a country.
Yeah.
When I look beyond the borders, then I start to wonder, and I keep saying to my children that I am building or I'm raising global citizens. I don't see them limiting themselves to Rwanda or the region. I want them to be the kind of kids, if they're dropped in Finland, they can thrive there. If they're dropped in Australia, they can thrive anywhere in the world. My worry then becomes, are they prepared for that world that's beyond the borders that I know?
Yeah.
Right? Because in Rwanda, very confident, the decisions that are being made, they, when it's their time, they will be happy about the decisions that we have made today in their time.
Yeah. And, as you speak, I'm just reflecting on how you've been described, and it's very evident. So people have described you as very graceful, very poised, and strategic, as well as deeply accomplished. But I want to know, is there a fear that still lingers? Do you have any fear? Is there anything that you're afraid of?
I think my biggest fear is when my life is over and I haven't utilized my God-given talents, right?
Yeah.
That is really my one of my biggest fears. Probably the second biggest fear would be looking at my children in future and they're not the kind of citizens that I envisage today.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very difficult place to be, because then I will question the priorities I set for myself. Because to be honest, a fear I live with every day is the choices that we make. I'm here in Nairobi, for example. Yeah. My kids have started school. This week they actually had tests. But I wasn't there with them because work has taken me somewhere else. So my fear is, at a later stage, if they don't turn out as I would love for them to turn out. Otherwise, I love to think about life as a great opportunity to just live and impact and enjoy and have a good time while doing what, God has put in our hands.
Yeah. I like that. And, I guess even as you lead, there are certain things that you've been able to put in your life and you say, okay, so this I'm not going to compromise on. Is there anything that is so sacred to you that it doesn't matter if there's a conference in Nairobi or wherever else in the world, that this is what I want to do and I will not compromise on that?
So my Sunday church time is sacred. I do my best wherever I am to at least be with my family on Sundays, because that's the one time that, throughout the week, because, I work in the bank. My husband is a business person. So we're all chasing all sorts of things. Kids are in school. I have 2 sons. So Sunday is that one day where we're all together. Yeah. Saturday, obviously, there's social responsibilities. You're going for weddings. There's all kinds of things that come up. Yeah. So Sundays is that time where I say, you know what, I have to have time with my family. And then, just making sure that at least once a year we have a vacation as a family that's uninterrupted, no work. And probably finally, daily prayer time wherever I am in the world, just making sure that I can get on the phone and say the grace with my kids. And everything else, I realize life is about being dynamic. It's about being adaptable. You'll be thrown in all kinds of spaces and you have to adjust. Yeah. And so I guess I've been a bit, flexible in the things that I can accept, and the no-go areas are probably not as many as I would want, maybe.
I hear you. You've talked about having 2 boys. I recently got a baby boy.
Oh, congratulations.
The energy required to raise boys is something else. I can't imagine having 2. I mean, I absolutely love him with all of my heart. But also it's a lot of energy.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I had my 2 boys when I was heading corporate banking and in EcoBank at the time.
Yeah.
And if any space is quite demanding, it's the corporate banking space, because you need to be in places where big transactions are being discussed. But because we had not waited, but we were trying for a child and it didn't happen. We didn't get a child immediately. We had our firstborn in our 5th year of marriage. And so by the time he came, I was willing to drop everything and just take care of him.
Yeah.
And so I think it's also part of the reason why I rethought, my banking. It's part of the reason I stepped out of banking, because by the time I left banking, I'd had my second born. There were two boys under 3. So quite
wow.
they required a lot of time.
Yes.
But I also really, really enjoyed my time with them. But that meant a lot of burnout, a lot of exhaustion.
Yeah.
So no weekends, no weekdays. It was just running from day one until the younger one turned 5.
Yeah.
I felt like it was just a stretch. It still is. They're now 13 and 10.
Wow.
But
teenagers now.
Well, the older one is a teenager, but still quite demanding. I think with children, once you have them, parenting never stops. It's worrying about one thing after another, finding opportunities to impact, finding opportunities to teach. I think so many teachable moments with boys, but it requires that you have time to watch them, watch the decisions they're making, so that you pick out those teachable moments and instill some values in them.
Yeah. But I think because it's my first baby, the thing that makes me so happy is just like realizing how they know nothing and we're sort of. So the other day, my son tried to catch water. And it's just like, what? Oh, poor boy. There's a lot to learn. Yeah. So they're very, literally in the thick of it in terms of like no sleep.
Yeah.
But it's in the little moments when he's asked to say flower and he points me. He's like, flower. And then he points mama.
Cute.
So
that's so cute. How old is he?
He's 1 year now.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's a lovely age. And you need to enjoy it because they grow so fast. I've gotten to a point where I say, you need to go back to that age because I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
So enjoy it.
It's the cutest.
Yeah.
All right. So as we close, you're sitting right opposite the 21-year-old Patience. What are you telling her?
21-year-old Patience. Your love for people is not in vain. It's one of the reasons we exist is to serve. Keep your heart for service. Be confident and take up the spaces in which you are. Don't belittle yourself. Don't fear what's to come. There's so many people along the way who are interested in your success, but you just need to open yourself to receiving the advice. Surround yourself with people who are interested in your success, not people who want to pull you down. And if you're able to truly use those relationships in a way that is not selfish, in a way that wants to improve other people's lives, you're going to find a lot of value.
That's amazing. I am so challenged from this conversation, and clearly your heart just comes out. It has been such a pleasure having you. Thank you for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you.
There's a lot to learn. I will replay this conversation over and over again.
Thank you.
Yes. But before we close, there are a few things I want you to tell me what comes to mind. When I say this word, what comes to mind? Legacy.
My own legacy?
Just legacy.
Lives changed. Yeah.
Lives changed. Power.
One word?
It could be a sentence.
Power, if used positively, could be so impactful. Yeah.
Doubt.
So unnecessary.
Okay. A woman who has held space for you.
Indra Nui. I don't know whether I'm going too far, but Indra has, and she's used her space very well. Closer home, Louise Mushikiwabo, who is currently the Secretary General of the Organization of Francophonie Countries. She was once the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Rwanda. She takes up her space very well. She speaks fluent English, fluent French, fluent Kinyarwanda. She's so relatable and does not have any airs of someone that's trying to be something else. She carries herself very well and very authentic. She's very authentic. Actually, that's the word I wanted.
Authentic.
Very authentic.
Failure.
I think failure is over, and I'm trying to find the right word for it. It's feared too much unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Because from failure comes lessons, and mostly lifelong lessons. When I think about the areas that I have failed, that's where I have drawn my most impactful lessons. So we fear failure more than we need to.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I'm just going to add something here. I feel when people say they fear failure, I sort of feel like it's embarrassment that they fear. A lot of time failure comes with some form of, I don't want people to see me trying. I don't want to be seen like it's about what other people see. So I keep asking when someone tells me, I'm just afraid of failure. And then I ask, are you afraid of failure or are you afraid of embarrassment?
Or also the impact that might come from outside of the learning, the impact that might come with failure. Think about a business failure, for example. You're losing money, probably you've borrowed or probably you've put up your house as collateral. The impact could be really heavy.
Yeah.
So I guess there's also a need to fear it without thinking about that huge impact that could come out of it. But if you're thinking about it in terms of the smaller losses that could come out of it, I think you're right. It's about the fear of embarrassment, fear of judgment, fear of, what will people think, Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to our words. A part of yourself you're still learning to embrace.
Learning to embrace, probably not, but learning is more on the spiritual journey and the questions that I have and reconciling my spirituality with how I can live out my spirituality authentically in the marketplace.
Ikamba.
A woman wearing her crown confidently, living out to her full potential, being emotionally stable, financially secure, with her family thriving, and also spiritually grounded.
Peace
comes to mind when I think about peace. Okay, I was going to say Rwanda.
I almost knew you were going to say Rwanda.
I don't like being predictable, but I was trying to find something else that's not Rwanda. But, there are times when I don't close the door of my house.
What?
Yeah. I don't have cameras in my house. Okay, so the bank provides security. There's a security, guard, but I'll get to the door, and before I even get to the gate is opening because they know the sound of my car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's peaceful.
Yeah.
So
Rwanda.
Rwanda. Yeah.
Lastly, East Africa.
Home.
Yeah.
Home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love East Africa.
Yeah. I feel like that's a beautiful place to close it. Where we began.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Terry.
It has been so interesting having this conversation with you. Like I said, I am challenged. I am learning, and I am going to try and be more positive about our country as well.
I pray we will be. Yeah.
Yeah.